Okay, today we're going to go over how to hardwire a track and hook up one of these two-lane wiring centers. We're also going to look at using one of these 1208 position block terminals. Basically, it's just a fancy wire nut, and I'll show you how to use that. In all of the packages that you get and online, there's going to be instructions and a schematic for these. So we're going to follow this schematic here today. We already have our power supply that's right over here. We got our Professor Motor 1400B power supply. We have our PMTR 1072 wiring center. We have a makeshift driver station here on a two-lane track. These are PMTR 1075s that you see here. We have our bus blocks here that we're using, and then we have our Ninco track pieces that we're using here for this example. And in this example, it's going to be a two-lane track, and this is going to be a jumper. So one of them is going to be our main power, and this one would be a jumper. So sometimes when you get bigger tracks, you need a jumper. So what I've done here already is I've connected a couple of things. I've taken the power wires here. This is going to go to the power supply. So when we look here, we have the 7 and 3. So I've hooked these up, marked them power supply into 7 and 3. Another thing that we want to pay attention to is on the instructions you'll see this is how they're numbered from right to left on the opposite side of the circuit breakers. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So what I've done is I've already hooked in those. I've hooked in our white and our red leads to go in. And as you can see, it's not numbered the same way here, right to left, but the reason why they do that is otherwise you'll have a mess of spaghetti because the wires cross all over each other. So, okay, so we've already got our reds and whites that have come over here. We got our power supply, so we can hook up our power here real quick. It's a spade connector. This is a PMTR 1068, I believe, and it's a power cord for hooking up the power supply into the wiring center. It already has the eyelets soldered onto them so that you can attach them easily to that. So you just want to unscrew that. And then put the spade connectors in. Just unscrews and you can slide them in behind there. You can also use banana jacks if you so want. Okay, so we now have that completely connected. The only other thing we have to do here is connect our track pieces. And we're going to use this back as a reference. So as you can see, we have lane 1. Lane 1, we have a direction of travel. We have a direction of travel noted here. And I put the color of the wire coming out underneath just so we could follow this a little bit easier. So I know that this top line here is actually the white wire, and that comes down and goes into the black post. Okay, so what we've done with these 1208s, one of the things I wanted to show you, in the package you'll get these little clips. So the way these works is they're just kind of like a fancy wire nut. So you can loosen a couple of the screws here, and then you can put one of these down in there, and that'll join these two sections. So as you can see here, I have 2 wires coming in on this side, 1 wire going out. So if I had 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 jumpers, I could stack the whole thing on this side as long as I put enough clips to connect them, and then I can take 1 wire out. Just makes it a lot easier taking 1 wire into our wiring center. So that's what we've done with these. We've taken the white wires that are in lane 1 on the top, and we've followed that down, and that's going to go to the black post here. A couple of things, like I said, we're going to get some clips in there. I haven't soldered on all these ends. I taped some of them on just for the purpose of the video. But what you do want to do is in all of the packages, in this package, you're going to get hardware like this that you can solder to, that you can put them on there, and you'll also get these here that you can do the same thing. These are just to go into here, solder them on the end of the wire. So those are just connectors that you're going to get with it. Okay, so again, we go back to the schematic. We got lane 1. We got the right handrail of lane 1, which is going to be our white wires. I've tied those together here. I've pulled them out as one, and we know that's going to come down. It's going to go to controller station 1 and on the black. So we'd come down here, and we're going to put it on there. Obviously, these hookups are done on the bottom with the screws that you get in the package, you're going to have some washers and nuts. So you would want to attach the wires underneath, obviously, but for purpose of demonstration, we're doing it on top. So then we want to come over here, and we have this right-hand rail of lane 2, which we know is now red. So I'm going to come here and say, okay, well, we've joined both of these red together so that they come out with one here. That's going to go into driver station 2. So we're going to put that on there. Okay, so the only other thing that we have now is we have our left-hand rails, and our left-hand rails are going to come down and they're going to attach to the wiring center. So I'm going to show you just how to attach a couple of them to the wiring center, and then this whole thing is going to be connected. All right, so we start with this one, trace it down, it's going to come into 2. So we come up here, we have the blue wire. These blue wires connected. This blue wire is going to go into 2. So we come over here, 1, 2. Just unscrew it all the way out. Then you can take the blue wire and connect it back up. Okay. And then we're going to come over here. We're going to get the left-hand lane of rail 2, which is going to be this black wire, which we've tied both of these black wires together here to give us one black wire to come to the wiring center. So we're going to see where that one goes. That one's going to go into slot number 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the only empty one we currently have. Pull the screw on that. We tighten that down. Now, the only other thing I want to mention here is we have a smaller, thinner gauge, 16 gauge PVC wire that's attached to the bottom of these tracks, as you can see. This is a PMTR 1026, I think, but it's a Ninco track that is pre-wired. Okay, so this wire is okay to be smaller gauge when you're talking about jumpers. The only thing that needs to be heavier gauge in this whole system is this wire here. So from our power supply to this, the thicker 13 gauge silicone coated wire is what's preferred there. So right now we have it all set up. We could power that up, hook up our controllers here, and we'd be driving. The only other one thing I'll mention quickly is that this is a reversing switch, a PMTR 1009. If you wanted to reverse the direction of travel on these, and I'll put a link in below, you can install these switches in here and you can reverse travel. And I'll put a link to the schematic to do that below. And that's it for today. Thanks for listening.